in sunny Sardinia to ride this controversial three-wheeled thing known as the Niken. It's now the Niken GT. There used to be a standard model and a Niken GT model, now there's just this. Right, despite the fact we're halfway into this Niken test, this is the first time I've been able to record anything because my other camera with the microphone on it is goosed. It's been a technically difficult day. However, I shall now tell you the story of what it's like to ride one of these new Niken GTs. It's got a bigger motor with a longer stroke, it's got more mid-range power, and they moved it a bit down the rev range. It's easier to go. Mind you, in saying that, we've been thrashing the shit out of it so much. I've only dropped down at the mid-range what feels like 4 or 5 times. This is a weird bike. Right, from up here now, you can't see the front wheels of the other bikes, but I warn you now, as soon as you do, you'll go, what the hell is that thing? And shouldn't it have a blue badge on the screen? Yeah, one of the things you're definitely going to have to put up with straight away on a bike like this is prejudice. I had one of these as a long-termer a couple of years ago, possibly longer in fact, and the amount of shit I got off people, and more to the point, the amount of shit I got off people who have never ridden one of these things just made me not want to park it anywhere or talk to anyone. You just have to have a really thick skin. You've got to understand this bike, and you've got to understand its virtues, which I hope I'm going to be able to extol in the coming miles. It's all about the front end basically. It's got 2 wheels up front for a reason, and that's to get different grip. I mean, the good thing in it here is I've got cold tyres effectively. What is it? It's 18 degrees. It's not exactly British, the temperature, but it's a bit chilly compared to what we've been riding in. And you know, you just don't have to care about grip levels anywhere near as much as you do on a standard bike. Got a big footprint. It's got A41 Bridgestones on. They're a decent tyre, but you can get a hell of a lot more out of them than you would on a normal bike. So, oh, hang on, there's a cow here. What is going on? Oh, I'll tell you don't want him getting upset. This front end on this thing might be solid, but it's not going to stop her. Oh, Jesus, man. It's not going to stop. Oh, don't. That's the most worried I've been all day. Tyre's a bit cool. There's just zero movement there. You can just go deep into the corner like that, slam it in. It rides like a normal bike. It's a fairly weighty thing, and steering it needs a bit more effort. But it's not like a Goldwing or something. You know, you don't need big biceps to make the bloody thing turn. It just needs a bit more effort. But that effort is well worthwhile, simply because, look, I don't know these roads and they're not exactly super safe. You don't want to be scuffing off on these corners, but I mean, this feels now like a good sort of grippy sports bike. Cannot tell you how much faith you've got in the front end. The brakes are a bit wanting when you start going totally bonkers. It's simply because you can get so much out the front that you end up charging into it much harder than you would normally. But there's been a couple of times where I thought, ooh, am I pulling up as quickly and as sharply as I want here? Yeah, as you can see, this road's it's a bit shitty dirty. It's got a few holes in it, bit of mud on it. On this Niken, you don't need to care anywhere near as much. There's just such an excess of front end grip. I mean, I just want to charge deep into the corner here and lob it in like that, and it's a bit frustrating actually to ride it at a level far less than it's capable of. I mean, the very first time, first few days and weeks of having my long-termer, I went out deliberately trying to find what the grip level limit was. And believe you me, you need some big knackers. On bikes where, oh fuck, there's a cat there. I mean, right, these guys are going way too slow right now to appreciate the real virtues of this bike. Right, deep into the corner on the brakes, lob it in. Again, you know, this direction change in here, it's great. Just, I mean, that just feels so secure. Great, absolutely brilliant front end. It's like you're on a GP bike with a factory slick on the front. Just doesn't move. It's got an adjustable screen this year as well. But I think you just do, that's it, you do that. Forks are just the same as ever. They feel pretty supportive actually, and they're very good over bumps. Sort of smooths the road out. Clocks carry a lot more info than they used to be. It's quite easily accessible. It's got the T-Max arrangement on the bars, the switchgear, so you can access everything you need to know. Rider modes, 3 of, 4 of. Right, let's just go through them. Coaster, oh, fuck, hang on. 4 rider modes. Rain, utterly rubbish, especially given how much grip there is on this thing. Not necessary. Street, pretty good. Sport, which I've used most of the time. Oh, here we go, this is what you want. I mean, this is an absolute knee down bike easily. Just fabulous, man. Sport and then custom. So 4 rider modes. They adjust the ABS and the traction control as well. It's a bit pricey. I'll get you the price in due course, but they were mumbling on about 16 grand this morning. You have to want this bike to want to pay that much money, or have a massive bank account. Would I have it? If I had a garage big enough for sort of 5 or 6 bikes, I would entertain it, definitely. I do like it. I just like the security that it offers. The concept is brilliant. I was talking to a guy once and he said imagine it with like proper tyres, proper brakes, proper suspension, and it just would be nuts. The other good thing of course is you can ride it in crap weather, and I mean look at this, adverse camber, shitty grassy horrible surface, just wasn't bothered there. I'm not bothered because I've developed enough time on, well, I've developed enough faith in this bike because of the time I've had on it. But you could tell this morning, those who hadn't ridden it before, they were a bit nervous. You can just take the piss. It's that simple. The other thing is, of course, is you can just tighten the line. If you make a mistake, it's going to accommodate you far more readily on this bike. The restrictions are the brakes start running out of puff a bit, and the ground clearance is a bit naff as well. You easily start clattering the footrests off the ground. I mean, I've probably worn the Hero blobs down quite a bit, so it's better than it was. I'm not encouraging. Right, that corner, for instance, I don't know just how tight it's gonna be, but I'm a lot. I'll tell you, tell what the grip's like from the back actually. That's just as it would be normally. Right, this Niken is just saying, is that all you've got, mate? Oops. It just feels as though it's impossible to wash out. Famous last words. Yeah, I like the engine. I'd suggest the arse-ometer reckons about, I think, 105 horsepower or something like that. It's not about peak horsepower, this motor though, it's just about usability. Sounds great. I mean, I've been in some of the small gears today because I wanted the max out of it to test the front end, but Yeah, you don't have to rev it as hard as I've been doing. It's got chug. I mean, look, hard on the brakes there, tipping over. Watch the car. But you can just brake so deep into the corner, man. I have crashed one of these things, and it was probably as well that I did. I crashed it in the wet at Silverstone because I got caught out by the conditions. I didn't realise it was wet on the corner, that I was trying to go around at dry pace. Does that sound like a good excuse? Did to me. It just proves that everything's got a limit, of course, but you've got to be careful because this thing draws you in to experiment too much with where the limit lies. And if you dived off on a corner up here, you wouldn't be in the best of health, I'll tell you. Bit vibey when you keyed it, nothing too obtrusive, nothing that's going to upset you. Mirrors half decent. Mind you, see those lovely white TCX boots there? If I ride those in the rain, especially if there's a bit of mud on the floor, they will be coated in shite before you know it, because they're right in line with the front wheels. I don't think the mud guard looks a bit longer this time out, but it'll have to be long to stop it chucking the shite at that it used to. Right, not going fast here, but just feels totally solid. That's another thing, you know. People who are a bit nervous on a motorbike, particularly people who have to ride all year round in crappy conditions, this is a good bike for them. Oh, there we go. Right, this strikes me as though it's going to be a bit of a Niken route. Oh dear. Now, who's going to buy this, I wonder? I mean, somebody with a few quid in the pocket, obviously. Somebody who wants something totally different. Somebody who really likes the safety the front end offers. I mean, Yamaha are clearly serious about this bike. They wouldn't have upgraded it at the expense they did. One of the other key changes is as far as the frame's concerned, the cast section at front and back are just the same, but the trellis, steel tube trellis in the middle, that's now different. I think they've done it to get a bit more feedback, but they've altered it. They've altered it to alter the engine position. I remember now. That's tilted forward a bit now. It's primarily been designed to create more grip, but that's for the MT-09 and Tracer rather than this bike, because this has got enough grip anyway, but you've got a bit more now. Yeah, it tips on its front end a bit more than it used to. It's a super brave decision for Yamaha to have made this thing. It's not going to sell in massive numbers. It's not going to make them a load of money. Too many people are just going to think it's too damned weird, man. A lot of people think that it isn't a bike because it's got 3 wheels, but it rides like one. I mean, listen, if you were blindfolded and didn't know it had the number of wheels and the design that it has, you wouldn't be able to tell. Well, you wouldn't, because if you had a blindfold, you'd be on your arse. Yeah, when I first got it, I just went, oh Christ, how do you ride one of these things? The fact is, you just ride it as normal. This is a knee-down bike. This is a bike that just behaves just like a bike does. So in that regard, it's a bike. I mean, that's weird. You go over these bumps and you think, oh well, what if the left or the right wheel goes in the bump but the other one doesn't matter. The suspension's sort of independent. I'd love to know who first suggested building one and under what circumstances it was announced. I mean, you'd think that it must have been some Japanese guy after a bottle of sake, but they've all obviously taken him seriously enough to build the bloody thing and market it, you know, building a bike like this in the limited numbers and with the alternative technology that it's got. It's a brave move, man. Now, despite the fact it's got panniers and it's pretty wide, The limitation, and there is a fairly significant limitation with traffic busting, is just getting back in at the front of the traffic that you've filtered down. Fuck's sake, man. Wasn't ready for that. You've got to be mindful that those wheels sit much further apart than, you know, a normal front end does on a normal bike. So you get caught. You just need to have a different mindset and appreciate this bike has very different dimensions. It's as simple as that. It's easy to clip curbs that keep left bollards, for instance, because you just don't know, or you forget that the wheels sit there rather than just there in front of you. Cruise control standard, loads of shit here on the end of this. Hang on a minute, let's reset that. Heated grips. Hang on, wait a minute, where's that? Okay, I'm chuntering. I got a USB socket there. You know, it's not the most versatile bike because of the bloody size of the bloody thing, but generally speaking, it's good to do a lot of different things. Keep it away from traffic, really. Listen, you get the drift. It's got lots of stuff on offer. Is it worth 16 grand? This is a bike that will be worth it to some, but the majority, I would suspect, would think it's just too different and too costly. A lot of people just don't want to get it. I mean, look at it. I think your average GSXR rider is going to think you're a proper weirdo. Yamaha NIKEN, weird but bloody wonderful. You've got to try one, and more to the point, you've got to try one for quite a few days in quite a few different weather conditions to really get what it can do. This is not a bike that you learn the limitations of in just a brief sort of, I was going to say 100-mile test ride, because that's what we're doing today. I would imagine a lot of these guys, listen, they're pro riders, they're handy, they're experienced, and they've been going pretty fast in the corners, so they get it. But I think to fully appreciate what's on offer, you really need to sort of own it for a while. Its abilities are that much higher, or its specific front end ability.